Hey, it's Katie here, and I'm back with another video. This one is going to be mostly acrylic with a lot of bling bling. Um, I'm doing a little camping scene. So, school's going to be starting soon, and everyone's getting in those last vacations. So, I started out with Liquitex Basics in Mars Black at the top, and then Violet, and then Phalo Blue. And then phthalo green will be underneath that. And basically, I'm just going back in between the colors and just blending and not really rinsing my brush and just blending all the colors in together. I want it to be um, a dark sky and kind of dark. And when I do the tint and everything, I want that to be the light focus of the rock, so all of the background is going to be mostly dark. And I'm going to make the rock kind of dark to start off with, and I think it's too dark, so I end up going back and making it a little bit lighter, which you'll see in a minute what I do. But I was going to cut it out, and then I thought, no, I'm going to show you my process, because sometimes you start a rock and you paint it a certain way, and no matter what you do, you just are not happy with it, and you got to change it up. So I'm just showing you my process and what I did to fix it. So I am an admin in Santorini Stones by Shelley, and we do a plane ride every other month, or a train ride, depending on where we're going to visit. And we have everybody paint a rock each week, and at the end of 4 weeks, you are up for a drawing. This is where I started lightening the rock. And so the first week is starting today, which is when this will be posted, and it's going to be camping. So this was a good way to get our month started. So if you want to come and check us out and join the plane ride, you are welcome. It's Santorini Stones by Shelley. So I added some white to the violet and the phthalo blue and the phthalo green, and just lightened it up a bit. It will darken a little bit when it dries, but it won't be quite as dark as it started out. Now I'm taking a toothbrush, and I watered down some Liquitex Basics in white, and I'm just putting a whole bunch of little tiny stars in there. And then I'm going to take my brush and add in some larger stars and some little dots and just make it look like a nice night sky. Thank y'all so much for watching my video today. If you like it, please subscribe, like it, share it. I really appreciate everything, all the comments and everything that I get. Now I'm using just a craft paint bottle, and I'm painting, well, I pretty much just get the moon started just to kind of give me a base. And now I'm going to go in and I'm going to fade out the edges rather than just make a straight line moon. I like to fade the edges in, and so it just has that kind of spooky look to it. And I'm just doing it in a dabbing motion and just kind of blending out. This one was a lot of fun putting together and just figuring out kind of along the way what I was going to do. So I really enjoyed it. So now I took some black and mixed a little bit of white in it to make a dark gray. And I'm putting some little mountains off in the distance. I don't want them too light or too dark. I just kind of want them just in the background. I do make a little bit lighter at the tops because the moon is shining. And now I'm going to start drawing in some trees. And I'm pretty much going to stick with that same kind of lighter color because I want these trees just off in the distance where you can barely tell what it is. So the light from the moon is just barely showing that there's something back behind. And I'm using a really fine little brush that I cut down. And I'm basically drawing a line straight up. And so it's like the trunk of the tree. And then I'm just making little tiny dabbing motions to make the leaves. And now I went to the foreground and I'm using a much darker black. It's Raven by Stuart Simple. And I wanted the foreground trees to be really dark black, so I pulled out that one, it's pretty black. And you can see a little bit better now how I'm just kind of making little dabbing motions. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just want it to look kind of like a scraggly tree. Then I'm going to put 2 off over here. And I'm kind of forming the frame around my tent. And that was a oopsie. I poured out way too much paint, so I put a little bit back. Yeah, you know, when you're filming a video, everything that can go wrong will. So I decided to put another tree off to the left. Now I'm kind of sketching in, which you're not really going to be able to see it. I could see it because it's a pencil, but you'll see it when I start putting gesso on it. After I get it all sketched in, I use my Liquitex Basics gesso to kind of just put a base, and so all the colors will show up. And I'm just using a fine nail brush to do that. So I made a little log, and now I'm filling in the little rocks that's going to be around the campfire. And now I'm going to do the tent. And I just did a basic little tent. This is really a great rock for beginners. It's a lot of fun. It's not difficult. It has not too much blending. The background has blending, and there's a little blending on the tent and stuff, but it's pretty easy to follow, and I think it would be great for a beginner. And then I'm also going to add some fire, a base to the fire. So now I'm taking the alizarin crimson in decoart Americana, and I'm painting the right side of the tent, which is going to be the darker red, and kind of around the edges. And then the apple red in the multi-surface by folkart will be the inside part where the tent is brighter. And I'm going to have to do a couple layers because it's red. You know, red is a transparent color, so it's going to take a little bit. So what I do is I'm going to jump back and forth between the tent, the fire, the log. That way color can set. So I started with a little burnt sienna on the base of the fire, and I'm going to go back and forth between adding burnt sienna and what was that darker brown color? I'll leave it in the description below. The black that I'm using is by Createx. It's an airbrush paint, but it's really awesome for fine lines and making shadows and stuff, so I really like using it. So I painted the log burnt sienna and a little bit of the dark brown, and I added a little black into it just to give it some texture. And now I'm adding more red onto the tent. And then I'm making just a little space in between the flaps of the tent with the black. And now I'm going to start bringing up some red through the fire. And I'm pouring out bright orange and bright yellow, also in decoart Americana. And I'm mixing a little orange and yellow with my red and starting to build the fire up. And it's basically a layering process with a lot of this stuff. That's how you kind of bring it to life, is you layer it and add your colors one by one. I add a little black around the bottom of the fire, and now I'm going in with the bright yellow. And I'm adding it at the tops, but then I'm going to go back and kind of add some throughout the fire, just so it looks like it's not just all directly straight up in the air. Now I'm putting the line at the bottom of that tent and adding a little bit of a shadow. And I'm just like straightening out lines and stuff right there on the tent. That is also a really fine brush that I cut some of the bristles out of. Now I'm going back and adding more yellow now that it's dry. Some more red. Just building up that fire a little bit more. Then I'm adding a little bit more black to the log, and I added some black on the back side of it to give it a little bit of shadow. And now I'm retouching the darker red on the tent. And now I'm putting the little brown stakes that hold the tent down. And it's all coming together now. And I put a little tiny dot of color to look like the flap is up. Now I'm kind of blending some of that darker red in on the side edges, just so it really shows that it looks like the light is hitting that inside part of the tent. And then I took a little bit of black and mixed it with that green, which is hooker's green. And I added it behind the log and all around the foreground. So it looks like it's dark on this side of the fire, but it's lighter on the inside where the fire, right where the fire is by the tent. And so now I'm taking some black and gray and I'm going to do the rocks, and I'm going to go back and forth with a little bit lighter gray and a little bit darker gray just to make it look like rock. Like lumpy rock. I don't know how else to explain it. I'm editing this video late at night, and I hope y'all can understand what I'm saying. And I also outlined a little bit with the black just to give the rock dimension. And now I'm going in and adding a little more green to the back of that log. So now I'm taking extreme glitter and black, and I'm putting it on just the trees in the foreground. I like doing this because it gives it a nice 3D texture. And I just really like the effect. I tend to do this a lot with my trees. Plus, you know, I like glitter. And there will be more, I promise. It won't be white, it'll dry clear. Now I'm taking glitterific and black opal, and I'm adding it to the sky. And I'm using my finger because really that's the best, easiest way I found that works. Using a brush was not very effective for me. So yeah, it gets on your finger. You can wear a glove if you want, but it doesn't bother me. Now I'm taking neon yellow in holbein, and I made some dots because I wanted some little, what are those called? My brain is giving up on me tonight. The little glow bugs. So I wanted them all around the campfire. Lightning bugs. Whew. I wanted the lightning bugs all around the campfire, and I was going to use UV glow, but I changed my mind and I used Duraclear with some Art and Glow powder that I mixed in it, and I put it on the moon and a whole bunch of stars all around and on the bugs, because I just want certain things to glow on the rock when the lights are dark. So I just was putting it in different spaces, and you'll see at the end, hopefully I get a good video or picture of it. And that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you give it a try, and y'all have a great day. Thanks for watching.
Right there on top of the moon, we could sit and do nothing. I wish we were bold to just fly away. I don't wanna care. It's